Net fishing is an important fishery, generating more than 60% of the province's coastal fisheries output, providing fresh local seafood to people in the province. This phrase has been mentioned many times in various documents used in experimental research and fisheries management of the province. In fact, the total fishery production in this province in 2008 was about 30,100 tons, of which about 10,200 tons were from coastal fishing, about 18,500 tons were from offshore fishing, and about 400 tons were from offshore fishing. The output caught by nets is about 6,900 tons, equal to about 68% of the coastal catch. This is an important fishing industry of Kanagawa Prefecture, accounting for about 23% of the province's total fishing output. We received many comments from people in the prefecture who came to see the Sagami Bay experiment station, such as "This is the first time I know that fishing is done in Kanagawa Prefecture," or "This is the first time I learned about a fishing gear called a fixed net." Therefore, I would like to explain about net fishing, an important fishing industry in Kanagawa Prefecture. Fixed network overview. First, an overview of fixed nets. Have you ever seen so many floating buoys lined up at sea like Figure 1? This is a fishing gear called a fixed net. This is extremely large fishing gear, with the largest pieces having a total length of more than 400 meters. There are many different types of fixed nets in addition to the drop nets shown here. Fixed netting, placing a fixed net at sea, is done using ropes, buoys, kana anchors, or dohyo, sandbags. They are used to assemble a frame called "gawabari" in the middle. Sea surface and sea bottom. Next, nets called kakiami, undoba, noburiami, and hakoami are attached to the frame. Fence nets are long fence-like nets that stretch from near the coast to offshore. Some fences are more than 800 meters long. Offshore there is a large area called a sports field surrounded by a net. The bottom of the net gradually slopes upward, and the left and right nets become narrower as they go. Hako Amy, a continuation from Noboru Amy, is a net shaped like a large box. Kakiami, Undoba, Noburiami, and Hakoami all have different structures and roles. Additionally, in the case of drop nets, there are no surface, sea surface, nets in the playground, winch nets, or box nets. The ceiling, seaside, is open. Fixed nets are fixed to the seabed, fixed fishing gear, so people wait for fish to enter the net before catching them. This method of fishing does not include chasing fish around and catching them, so resources will not be depleted. However, his path was blocked by a fence. The fish then changed course to safety offshore. The banks are shallow and dangerous for fish. In addition, a playground awaits and schools of fish are led into the playground. The playground is a very large area so fish can swim in it. Some fish eventually leave the net from where they entered. The fixed net does not block the entrance to the net. The entrance to the network is always open. As the fish swim around the playground, they pass through the net and toward the box net at the back. The tip of the net is called the mouth of the funnel, protruding into the net. Due to its structure, it is difficult for fish caught in the box net to escape. In this way, fish entering the fixed net will accumulate in the box net. Every morning, fishermen tie this box net, raise the net, to catch fish. Figure 5 shows a fisherman tightening his net and catching fish. This box net is the only part of the net that is pulled up to catch fish every morning. It doesn't mean we are pulling all the nets out of the giant fixed net. Use your hand to lift the net from the entrance of the box net, where the funnel hole is, and drive the fish deep into the box net. The drawn net is not lifted onto the fishing boat but is released back into the sea. Gradually move the fishing boat deeper into the box net while rotating the net. This will push the fish deeper into the net. Many fish are splashing in the water inside the box net. However, the truth is that fishermen try not to let fish get too wild. Because if you let fish freely, it will affect the freshness and quality of the fish. The aquarium was filled with ice and cold seawater that had been previously sterilized and cooled. Every time fishermen put fish in the aquarium, they add ice and stir well to mix the fish, cold seawater, and ice. This allows the fish to cool quickly and maintain freshness and quality. In addition, many other types of fish such as mackerel, sardines, anchovies, grouper, amberjack and Japanese common squid are also caught using fixed nets. Japan is known as the country that consumes the most fish in the world. In addition to raw fish, we often eat processed seafood products such as canned fish, pastes, and snacks every day. There may be some people who love fish and want to work at a seafood processing factory. In this article, we will introduce the types of processed seafood products, the production process of processed seafood products in factories, and the characteristics of people suitable to work in seafood processing factories. What types of processed seafood products are there? First, I will tell you about the types and benefits of processed seafood products. Seafood processing is the process of cooking and seasoning marine products such as fish, shellfish and seaweed as raw materials to produce processed marine products such as foods, fats and oils. Examples, canned foods, such as tuna flakes, sukadani, dishes made with small fish, frozen foods, such as seafood mixes, dried seaweed products, such as dried wakame and seaweed products such as dried kamaboko such as dried squid are all classified as processed seafood. Processing seafood is intended to make it even tastier than in its raw form, as well as increase the food's shelf life. Seafood products contain a lot of water so they spoil quickly. However, if you prevent bacterial growth through processing, you can preserve it for a long time. For example, if canned fish is left raw after being caught, it will quickly lose its freshness, but if packaged in a metal can and tightly sealed, it can be stored for several years. In addition, you can prepare many types of squid from one seafood product such as salted fish, dried squid, fried squid, so you can enjoy many different flavors without getting bored. After being caught, frozen mackerel were left in a room at about 10 degrees Celsius overnight to partially thaw. After removing excess parts such as the head and internal organs, they are washed and soaked in salt water for 3 hours to overnight. Soak salted mackerel in vinegar for about 3 hours to overnight. The fins and skin are removed and the shape is adjusted. After vacuum packaging, the product is finished. Once they are sorted by size, they are frozen at -30 or lower. It will then be stored in a freezer at -20 or lower until delivery. seafood processing plants, careful hygiene management is implemented, including cleaning and checking the machinery used and inspecting seafood during processing. Seafood processing factories are not only located in coastal areas but are present everywhere across the country. Additionally, you don't need any special qualifications to work, so you can start working even without experience. Of course, those with experience in seafood or food processing will be given preferential treatment. You get to see and touch seafood all day long, so this is the perfect job for fish lovers. If you want to apply for a job in the food industry, not just at a seafood processing factory, cleanliness is a prerequisite. Even a hair in your food can be a problem. If food poisoning occurs, the plant can be seriously damaged. Therefore, like other food factories, all seafood processing factories are under strict hygiene control. For example, you must wear special clothes and a hat before entering a seafood processing factory. Additionally, although this varies depending on the factory and job content, workers often disinfect their hands and take a steam bath to remove foreign substances from clothing before entering the factory.
Do you want to learn a little about tuna, which is so obvious that you probably don't know much about it? Read on and enjoy delicious tuna. Tuna is a migratory fish belonging to the mackerel family. A large fish is up to 3 meters long and weighs about
In some places, there is even a requirement to shave the hair on the arms to avoid contamination. Work performed at a seafood processing plant includes detailed work that requires the use of hands. Therefore, it is suitable for people who can focus on detailed work. However, even if you're not very confident in your manual dexterity, you'll be fine as long as you can perform each task carefully. Processed seafood products produced in Japanese seafood processing plants are attracting attention not only in Japan but also abroad.
It is thought that swimming slowly in dark water helps them maintain a state similar to sleep. Did you throw toro away? It is said that it has been eaten in Japan since the Jonin period, when bones were excavated.
They are also popular as souvenirs for foreign tourists visiting Japan, and there is also an active movement to export processed seafood products abroad. The work of seafood processing plants can satisfy consumers not only in Japan but around the world. If you love fish, not only eat it but have also been passionate about fishing since childhood, or were born and raised in a fishing village, maybe you will enjoy working at a seafood processing factory. If there's a seafood processing plant in your neighborhood or if you know someone who works there, why not talk to them about it? It may cause more interest. The mackerel is found in the northeast Atlantic from Norway to Morocco and the Canaries, and in the Mediterranean and Black Sea. In the northwest Atlantic it occurs from Labrador to North Carolina. Large dense shoals may be found near the surface all round the UK in summer and autumn, but their occurrence is sporadic in the southern North Sea. The English summer mackerel fishery was traditionally from April to September. This has now been extended from February to October so that, coupled with the huge winter fishery now established in the southwest from October to March, mackerel supplies are available throughout the year. The Scottish mackerel fishery from June to August could also possibly be extended. Mackerel fishing methods have changed dramatically over the past 50 years. Before 1939, mackerel were caught mainly in the spring by drift net, an interim occupation for drifters between the winter and summer herring fisheries. After 1945, mackerel landings were small for some years, and the catch was taken mainly in the southwest during the summer by feathering, that is small boats using hand lines with colored lures made from feathers or plastic. Once the mackerel shoals were found to remain in Cornish waters throughout the winter, the hand-line catch increased considerably in the late 1960s, and, as the market for mackerel improved, trawlers began to engage in mackerel fishing using both midwater and bottom trawls. Purse seining has become the most important method of capturing mackerel in quantity off the west of Scotland in late summer. The mackerel is a fatty fish, and the fat and water content vary with season. The fat content of mackerel caught off southwest England is lowest in May after spawning, and reaches its peak between October and December after the fish have fed during the summer and autumn. A typical range of fat content throughout the year is 6 to 23%. As fat content increases, water content decreases. The typical range of water content is 56 to 74%. The protein content is 18 to 20%. The fat content of mackerel caught off the west of Scotland during August and September is similar to that of Cornish mackerel during December and January.
Tuna is a high-quality protein with an amino acid score of 90, contains more protein per 100 grams than beef or chicken. Sulfur-containing amino acids, methionine, cysteine, are expected to support liver function. Clean tuna is rich in these amino acids.
Mackerel are fatty fish and are not normally gutted at sea. They therefore spoil quickly unless they are chilled immediately after catching and kept chilled. Mackerel with a fat content of about 10% will develop off odors after 1 to 2 days at 10 degrees Celsius, will be soft and spoiling rapidly after 3 days, and will be putrid after 5 to 6 days. Fish with a higher fat content spoil even faster. Mackerel of medium fat content stowed in ice or in refrigerated seawater immediately after capture will keep in good condition for 4 to 5 days. Stale or noticeably spoiled mackerel should not be used for processing. The signs of stale fish are as follows. Eyes are sunken, cloudy and discolored red or brown. The skin has lost bloom, and its colors have lost intensity and brilliance, giving a washed out appearance. Gills are dark red or brown, and a dark blood red mucus oozes from the gill covers. The odor of the gills and body is sour, sweaty or strongly oily. Sometimes a smell of ammonia is also present. Mackerel for freezing should be chilled immediately after capture and frozen within 24 hours. Mackerel with a high fat content should preferably be frozen within 12 hours. Frozen mackerel, properly glazed and kept in cold storage at -30 degrees Celsius, will keep in good condition for at least 6 months. Cold storage life can be extended up to 1 year when mackerel are packed in polyethylene bags that are topped up with water and frozen in vertical plate freezers. The block is doubly protected against deterioration in store by the encasing ice and by the packaging. Gutting before freezing is not necessary, and may be a disadvantage. Mackerel can be hot smoked to give a ready-to-eat delicatessen product, and the flesh of hot smoked mackerel can be used as a basis for a pate. The mackerel can also be split or filleted and then kippered in cold smoke in a manner similar to herring. For a product of good eating quality, mackerel with a fat content of at least 10% should be used. The smoked product can be whole gutted fish, with or without the head on, or fillets.
In this comprehensive guide, we will walk you through the intricacies of rigging for southern Walking tuna, ensuring that you have the knowledge and skills required to outperform even the most seasoned weavers in game fish. Southern Walking tuna,
For smoked whole fish, the mackerel are gutted, or headed and gutted, as required, the gut cavity cleaned and the black bellywall lining removed. For hot smoked fillets, single fillets with skin left on are cut from the whole fish. Brining requires some care. In order to minimize the risk of food poisoning organisms growing in the finished product, it is recommended that the salt concentration in the water phase of the product should be at least 3%. This concentration expressed in terms of water plus the solid components of tea.
Their migratory patterns and elusive nature add to the allure of SBT fishing, attracting enthusiasts from around the world seeking the thrill of landing these remarkable ocean giants. Understanding the importance of bait rigging. Before we dive into the rigging techniques for a heavy tackle,
mackerel is an important food fish that is consumed worldwide. As an oily fish, it is a rich source of omega-3 fatty acids. The flesh of mackerel spoils quickly, especially in the tropics, and can cause scombroid food poisoning. Accordingly, it should be eaten on the day of capture, unless properly refrigerated or cured. Mackerel preservation is not simple. Before the 19th century development of canning and the widespread availability of refrigeration, salting and smoking were the principal preservation methods available. Historically in England, this fish was not preserved, but was consumed only in its fresh form. However, spoilage was common, leading the authors of the Cambridge Economic History of Europe to remark, "There are more references to stinking mackerel in English literature than to any other fish." In France, mackerel was traditionally pickled with large amounts of salt, which allowed it to be sold widely across the country. In Japan, mackerel is commonly cured with salt and vinegar to make a type of sushi known as saba sushi. Historically, saba sushi originated in Kyoto as a solution for transporting mackerel to the inland city, which otherwise would not have made the journey from the coast still fresh. The road linking Obama Bay in Kyoto is now also called Mackerel Road, Saba Kaido, citation needed. Indian mackerel deep fried with salt and turmeric in mustard oil. Indian mackerel deep fried with salt and turmeric in mustard oil. For many years, mackerel was regarded as unclean in the UK and elsewhere due to folklore which suggested that the fish fed on the corpses of dead sailors. A 1976 survey of housewives in Britain undertaken by the White Fish Authority indicated a reluctance to departing from buying the traditional staples of cod, haddock or salmon. Less than 10% of the survey's 1,931 respondents had ever bought mackerel and only 3% did so regularly. As a result of this trend, many UK fishmongers during the 1970s did not display or even stock mackerel. There is a large variation in the mercury levels found in mackerel. These levels differ markedly for different species, and even for the same species in different locations. However, the strongest positive correlation seems to be connected to the species size, the larger species being higher on the food chain. According to the United States Food and Drug Administration, king mackerel is one of 4 fishes, along with swordfish, shark, and tilefish, that children and pregnant women should avoid due to high levels of methylmercury found in these fish and the consequent risk of mercury poisoning.